one of my loveliest formal dress arrangements. Chinese jacket of lustrous gold. Gown and shift of light and lighter green. Train of the same gold as the jacket. Skirted trousers of darker green than shift and gown. But all the garments hang in empty space. All the garments are empty. A ghost of myself.
But why would she say that? That she couldn't have children?
Because she believed it, of course. And it wasn't just her own silly fancy. I found out later, she told me this after she became pregnant, that she'd consulted midwives, physicians, priests. They all said the same.
No, you did say miracles were rare, but not impossible, when the gods are feeling mischievous.
The baby's due in a few weeks. I have to be back at the palace before then.
Will they let you see her?
Absolutely not. But I want to be near.
It's been good to have you here, Yukinari. After all these years, here we are, friends. We talk, we listen.
Do you want to talk any more about that night?
Is there anything else to say?
You went to the mansion house to report what happened. Not to a policeman.
Yukinari, there isn't a policeman within 20 miles. Well, of course there is now, my very own policeman. Ask any question you like, Lieutenant.
I'm not a policeman here, Takashi. I'm your friend.
I went to the mansion house because the master's there. Where else could I go? Anyway, Tobey belonged to that place.
You worked for the master?
Everybody here works for the master in one way or another, you know that.
And how did Tobey work?
He did a bit of everything. On the main farm and the orchard. He fed animals and he chopped wood. Just like any other labourer. But they'd also made him a guard, so they gave him a lance.
And he was proud of that.
He took it everywhere with him. Even when he was chopping wood, there it would be, slung on his back or leaning against a tree. He was an idiot. This is a man who could swagger, strut like a general, when all he was doing was driving a couple of cows up a farm road. When I stuck him with that thing, the rage in me was like a kind of joy. A raging joy. There's no one else on earth I could tell that to.
The first time we made love, it was in the most beautiful place I'd ever seen. Roses. An entire valley of roses. I think it may be the most beautiful place on earth. You're very quiet.
I'm worried about this pacing around of yours. You should lie down.
No. Something else. I know you, Saisho. This quietness of yours. Tell me.
You've been talking about him.
Well, I'd forget about the nameless creature if I could, but since this monstrous condition of mine...
You cannot marry him.
I am aware of that.
I've seen how he has made you suffer.
Oh, I'll try and keep my moans and groans to a minimum.
You know that's not what I mean. Stop trying to be so facetious and bitter.
The bitterness comes easily.
You cannot marry him. He cannot claim this child as his. You and he could never be happy. The man is entirely wrong for you.
Oh, well, no.
I know the Empress smiles on your affection for him. He is a favourite of the Emperor. But you cannot be with him.
My affection? How feeble that sounds. And only recently you were urging me to summon Yukinari here.
I did not urge, I merely... You said his name.
Forgive me, elapse. I am distracted. Such candour is a most distracting thing. But then I have been told friends are expected to indulge in too much honesty at times, however painful. So, I must live entirely within the elegant pretense of my marriage. I don't need brutal honesty from you to know that.
I am not brutal.
Insolent, then.
Insolent? How can I be insolent? I speak as your friend and your equal. Don't look at me like that. We are of equal rank.
Would the Empress agree, I wonder?
Oh, I know how fond Her Majesty is of you, but she has not raised your rank, which is no higher than mine.
I am senior to you.
You mean older?
That, if nothing else.
By less than a year.
One can learn much in a year.
It's still only a year, not even that, 10 months. And it may have made a difference when I first entered the palace.
When I was already a confidant of Her Majesty.
And you were kind to me, helpful.
Well, you did look like a little girl dressed up in her big sister's gown.
That's how I felt.
A lost little girl.
Shonagon, 10 months. They mean nothing now. We are equals.
And friends.
Of course.
Then as my equal and honest friend, please, do continue with your candid advice, while I continue with this ghastly process of expelling this thing from my body.
The words you use to describe the sacred process of childbirth, they are ghastly.
Wait a year. Only 10 months, perhaps. Then you may be blessed yourself. See how sacred you think it is.
Do you know...
What?
Do you know how often I...
What are you trying to say, Saisho?
Often.
If you don't get it out soon, I may be writhing on that bed again and I won't hear a word of it.
How often I have wanted to slap you. Yes, slap your face. Really. Front and back of my hand. Slap, 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 slap. Enough to bring tears to your eyes, to make you crumple and swoon. See you weak, Shonagon. Weak and shivering and needy.
Saisho.
To see you in need.
We are both very tired.
In need of me. And to show it. Lay your head in my lap and weep while I stroke your hair. It happened once, remember? But that was only because the Empress seemed to have snubbed you in a garden. From the far side of the garden, the merest, slightest, far away, most likely unintentional snub from Her Majesty, and you lay and wept like a lost little girl with your head on my lap, and I stroked your hair. But then I suppose I might as well have been a scented cushion. Next day it might never have happened. For you it probably didn't happen. Utterly forgotten. It was certainly never mentioned.
Not forgotten. But no need to be mentioned.
But there is. There is a need.
May I tell you a secret? It's something I have told no one else. You'll understand why. The second time Yukinari and I made love was in one of the palace outbuildings.
What?
Where the Emperor kept his tiger.
You could not.
We did.
Anyone could have walked in.
I know.
Their Majesties could have walked in.
I know. And that's when the child was conceived.
Madness.
There's no one else on earth I could tell that to.
You wept when you heard the tiger was dead.
At the sublime moment, the great beast roared.
You and the lady and a roaring tiger. That is wonderful.
Takashi, no more.
It's wonderful. It's much better than any adventure we had as boys.
Let's talk about something
I
else.
could listen to that story again and again.
I only mentioned it once, as you has been telling it again and again.
Are you really leaving tomorrow?
I have to.
To be close to the lady?
Yes.
And the tiger? Sorry. So, it's our last night. You must have a drink.
No thanks.
It's our last night together. Maybe for years, maybe ever.
I'll be back.
One tiny sake.
I've had more sake in the last few days than in all last year.
Well, a little wine then. There's a drop or two left.
May I ask you something?
Anything. I don't have any stories with tigers in them. Well, there was that time with the milkmaid and 7 cats in the hayloft, but they were only hissing farm cats, not noble roaring beasts.
The vision you have of the night your wife was killed. This unmoving, silent picture you see.
What about it?
You don't mind?
Ask anything.
Last night it came to you suddenly, like a fit, like apoplexy. Is it often like that?
Not often. Not now. It was like that for a long time, but it hasn't happened for a while. I don't know why it came to me like that again. Talking to you, I suppose.
And too much sake.
I haven't had too much. Copious amounts, maybe, but not too much. Yeah. Can a man who's too drunk use a word like copious? Can any peasant farmer use a word like that? Well, he can if he's had a clever wife. No, it doesn't always hit me like a thunderbolt. Sometimes I can sit the way I do when I study the rain and just look at it, calm. Look at the picture in my mind. No panic, no thunderbolt. Look, there's the black cat on the shelf. I wonder why we never see it get up there or get down. I'll never see it again. Run off to a hayloft test with the worst of them.
It was your wife's cat.
Right. And she's dead. So off it must go. Not living alone with this fool. And I used to let it taste my fish stew, which, as you know, is the best in the world. They're odd, grateful beasts, cats. The singing birds were hers too, of course.
And in your mind they're as still and silent as paper.
Silent and still. Dead feathers glued on paper. So the stones on the go-board. Scattered like dead things. Black and white together, no pattern, meaningless. The flames under the pot, fish and rice. They don't even flicker.
No sound from the burning wood.
Not a crackle. Not a stir in the hanging silk. I'm sure your lady wears the most wonderful silk. All the colours there are. Dyes and designs from the most wonderful craftsmen. Artists. You sure you won't have a drink?
Maybe one. Later. Before bed.
After I describe the rest of the picture. My vision, as you call it.
You don't have to, Takashi. We can have that one drink now and go to bed if you want.
There's not much left anyway. My wife sitting on the bed, the lance head in her chest, her eyes closed. And that's it. See? Quite calm. No thunderbolt. And then her dead eyes open. And the lance comes out of her.
Tobey.
He was so proud of that stupid piece of wood and iron. His head was made of the same. Wood and iron. Idiot.
And where is he?
What?
Where is Tobey? Your wife's lover. Her killer. The man you killed.
You ask a question and answer it. Tobey's dead. Burned and buried 1.5 years ago. Yukinari.
What?
Will you come outside with me?
Of course. Why?
It's been so long. So many years. One last time, you and me. Will you come outside and hold my shoulders while I'm being sick?
My loveliest formal dress arrangement. Gold and various greens. Empty. And hanging in empty space. A wonderful, silken ghost of myself. A sleeping ghost. A ghost which dreams of my other self. Writhing and sweating and groaning on my warm, damp, humiliating bed.